Hello. In this video, we're going to go over the center of the map for Cookie Town. That basically includes everything that's not on the outline of the map, and not including hide spawn, because we've already gone over this. We're talking about all these buildings that are basically in the map. Right? All the buildings that we talked about is basically the center of the map. Starting with this building, because this is sort of on the outline of the center of the map. We already talked about the TNTs, right? Total of 4 TNTs. As for the building, right, let's talk about this area, right? You see a furnace in this spot, it's fake, right? It's probably the most common one, right? But also, you could sometimes see, let's say, a hider in this specific block, right? Bookshelf, anvil, either one of those two blocks. That's basically it, right? Also, you can see, I guess, a bookshelf on top of this bookshelf like that. That would be fake. As for the outline, notice how there's a single cake. You should never see 2 cakes, right? If you see 2 cakes, then one of them's fake. Right? And not going to worry about the anvils too much. Right? Over here, notice how there's a space between every anvil. Right? But you don't want to be fooled. If there's an anvil right next to this bookshelf, then it's fake. That's basically it. Right? Obviously, flower pots inside of cauldrons. Right? That's basically it for this building. Also, there's an upstairs to this building, right? I believe there's a ladder right here as well. You get on top of the building. Many times you'll find hiders on top of the building. So that's basically it for this building. Now we're going to move over to this building right here. As for this building, it has a little bit going on, right? We got a few rooms in the downstairs. We got a few things going on in the upstairs. But starting with the downstairs, let's just talk about each of the individual rooms. Starting with the room on the left side, it's just 2 bookshelves. So basically, if you see a bookshelf on top of this bookshelf, then it's fake. Right? Or a bookshelf literally right next to this bookshelf like this, that would be fake. Right? And as for this room, right? A little bit of a bigger room, but you see a bookshelf next to this bookshelf stack, it's fake. Or if you see any other block in this room at all, then it's fake. That's basically it. Going to this room, it's basically like a bathroom, right? You see 2 cauldrons in a row, that's fake. You see any flower pots in here, that's fake. That's pretty much it. Getting into this room, well, you see a bookshelf in this specific spot, then that's fake. That's pretty much it. Right. Heading over here, right? Sometimes you'll find a hider, right? Flower pot, furnace, cauldron, any hider in this spot would be fake. That's basically it. Right? Sometimes you actually will find a flower pot hiding right here, so you should memorize that as well. Right? Turns out you can't really see the flower pot from that point of view, which is pretty interesting. So that's basically it for that. Now we're going to go to the upstairs. This is what the upstairs looks like. We're not going to worry about these block piles. Right? We have a complete line of furnaces. If you ever see 2 cakes instead of 1 cake, then one of them's fake. Right? Over here, right, you have some more block piles. Again, cauldrons. If you ever see a cauldron right next to one of these cauldrons, for instance, right there, or right there, that would be fake. Right, as for these TNTs, this is actually really similar to what we saw in Desert Village. If you recall, this is actually what we saw many times with the hay bale stack, and I believe a cauldron stack in Desert Village. This is actually a really common structure in Desert Village, so it's pretty easy to memorize if you remember that. 3 TNTs in a row, it's fake. Right? Squared off, it's fake. Or a TNT behind the stack like this, that's fake. These bookshelves are actually basically identical to the bookshelves we went over right there. Right? They're basically identical, so it's really easy to memorize. So again, square bookshelves, bookshelf on top of the stack. Right? But also in this particular case, you might see a bookshelf right next to the stack like that. Something like that. Right, and as for the 3 anvils, we have a total of 3 anvils. Well, if you see 4 anvils, then one of them has to be fake, of course. That's basically it. As for the hay bales, again, this is our same common structure. This is identical to our common structure, but it has an additional hay bale on the left side. So pretty easy. Common structure, same thing as the common structure with a hay bale on the left side. So pretty easy to memorize. So you should never see something outrageous like 3 hay bales in a row. Right? Should never see a hay bale right here. Right? Any deviation from the common structure is also. Of course, you could find hiders on top of the building. That'll happen too. That's basically it for the outside of it, but Also, there's this ladder that goes to the upstairs. As for hiding spots up here, I'd say the most important one is if you find a flower pot or a bookshelf in this spot right here. Right, also a flower pot or a bookshelf on top of this bookshelf, that would be fake. And that's basically it. Right, some other spots, I guess, if you see a bookshelf in this slot, it's fake. Right, but that's basically it for this building. Right, so now that we've talked about this, we're going to move on to our next building, right? So basically, we're going to move on to our next building that is basically on the outline of this side of the map. And so really talking about this building now, there's a few things going on. If you ever see 4 blocks in a row, then it's fake. Again, 4 blocks in a row, it's fake. And again, 4 blocks in a row, then it's fake. Right, pretty easy, just gotta memorize 4 blocks in a row. Also, there's a singular cake here, so if you see 2 cakes, then it's fake. Now up here, turns out, you can go right here, sometimes you'll find flower pots right here. And of course the top of the building as well. That's basically it for this building, pretty simple. And so now we've talked about these 3 buildings, now we're going to head over to this building right here. Notice how we have a cake right here. Well, if you see a cake on the other side, that would be a fake cake. Going inside the building, sometimes you'll see a cake or a flower pot hiding on top of this ledge. I like calling it the ledge, right? It's good. Right, and over here, you don't really often see hiders hiding over here, so don't worry about it. Right, that's basically it for the downstairs. As for the upstairs, there should be no blocks up here at all. So if you see any blocks up here at all, then it's fake. Again, another pretty simple building. Right, and now we have arrived at the hider spawn. Right, this is the hider spawn. Right, well that's the hider spawn, but I'm just looking if there's anything else I'd like to go over. Right, we've already talked about the hider spawn. What I'm going to go over now is I'm going to go over all the stuff. I'm going to go over this clock tower now. I'm going to go over all the stuff from here. Actually, instead of the clock tower, let's go over the stuff you're going to encounter from Hunter spawn. So really, let's talk about it. Right, starting over here. So really, we'll start with what we have over here. Right, these hay bales, basically it's just 2 hay bales in a row. So if you see 3 hay bales like this, that's fake. Pretty easy. Sometimes you'll see a hay bale right here, so again, looks like a square of hay bales, so that's fake. You see 2 TNTs on top of each other, then that's fake. Right, if you go inside this building, if you ever see a square of hay bales, then it's fake. If you see a hay bale on top of this hay bale, right, it goes way too high up, that would be fake. If you ever see the common structure with the hay bales, that would be fake. Over here, you could also sometimes see, right, 3 hay bales in a row. Not 3 hay bales in a row, but basically 3 blocks in a row, right? That would be fake. Now over here, it's actually not as uncommon to see 4 hay bales grouped together like this. Sometimes you'll literally see this. Right? So, also again, sometimes you'll see a hay bale on top of this hay bale that goes way too high up, that would be fake. Many times you'll actually find hiders on top of this building as you're coming from Hunter spawn, so they'll many times be launching their bow at you, or they'll just be right here. So many times you'll find hiders up here. So that's basically it for this building. Right? But then, if you look at what we have next to the building, we have this hay bale pile. Many times when you're coming from Hunter spawn, you'll literally just simply encounter this hay bale pile. So you should be familiar with some certain things. So if you see a square of hay bales like this, it's fake. Right, also, if you see a hay bale on the back side of it, right, hay bale in this specific spot, that would be fake. Right, because as you're approaching from Hunter spawn, this is the point of view of which you're looking at this hay bale. If you see a hay bale in this spot, then that's fake. From the back side, it's a square of hay bales. So pretty easy. But also, again, square of hay bales. So in this case, the square of hay bales is on the bottom of the stack. This would be fake. Over here, you have a square of TNT, then it's fake. Right, and here again, we have the same common structure with the hay bales. So if you see, these hay bales, right, square of hay bales, it's fake. Pretty easy, just any deviation from this common structure. That's basically it. We don't have to worry about this stuff too much. Right. That's basically it. Now we're heading over here. Behind the building, you have a few block piles. So again, this is that same common structure that we just saw, so pretty easy to memorize. As for the bookshelves, it's basically 3 bookshelves in a row. So if you see something like that, then it's fake. As for this building, the clock tower, now we're going over the clock tower. The inside of the clock tower, this is what the downstairs looks like, and not that many block piles, right? This is the only corner that has a bookshelf. If you see two bookshelves on top of each other, then it's fake. Pretty common, actually. But you also shouldn't see any bookshelves at any of the other corners. For instance, at this corner, that would be a fake bookshelf. As for the center of the downstairs, notice how you have, a TNT and a bookshelf. Well, if you see a TNT or a bookshelf connecting it all together like that, then that would be fake. Sometimes you'll see that. If you go upstairs, this is what it looks like. There should be no blocks in the upstairs. Sometimes you'll find flower pots up here. It's actually pretty common to find flower pots on the edge, like right here. Or again, flower pots on the edge over here. Any one of those edges, it's common to find flower pots. So you should be familiar with that. That's really it. Alright, so now we're back at hider spawn. Alright, so let's talk about this building. This building, this is what the downstairs looks like. Right, as for the downstairs, notice how we have these fences, right? I think an important spot is the fact that this is the only area where you don't have a block, right? It's the only spot between fences where there isn't a block, so you don't have to memorize this. Right, and that's basically it. Heading over here, right, you have a TNT, but if you see two TNTs on top of each other, that's fake. Pretty easy. Two TNTs is fake. Now, it's interesting because you actually do have a bookshelf right here, right? You can sort of see the bookshelf particles, right? You walk across that, but then the other particles are oak wood plank particles that I'm walking across. But right here, notice it's bookshelf particles that I'm walking across. Right? Turns out, right? These are oak wood planks, but turns out that this central block right here is a bookshelf. This is oak wood plank. That's the only bookshelf. Right? So basically, that's a bookshelf. That's basically it. Pretty cool. As for the upstairs, we have this other spot you'll many times find hiders hiding out, which is right here. That's basically it. Alright, of course, you have the roof. That's basically it for this building. Heading over here, we're going to talk about this building now. Now, as for this building, right, turns out you have a cake right here. So if you do see a cake on the other side, that would be fake. So two cakes means the fake thing. This is what our downstairs looks like, right? If you ever see a square of bookshelves, that's fake. Right. Also over here, right, you do have 3 blocks in a row, so you don't have to worry about them. But inside here, you have, again, 3 blocks. Right? If you have 2 cauldrons, 1 flower pot, that's basically it. Going up to the upstairs, this is what it looks like. As for furnaces, we see a furnace in this slot, or a furnace in this slot. Basically, 3 furnaces all grouped together would be this big one. As for bookshelves, we see a bookshelf in this slot, that's fake. Right, or sometimes you'll see like a bookshelf or a flower pot right here. Not super important though. Right? But again, you have the top of the building. This is basically what it looks like. That's basically it. So now we are going to go over here. Right? Now, I want to talk about these block piles real quick. We do have a melon stack right here, pretty common. I went over in the hider spawn video, but we'll go over this again anyway. Again, we have a block right here. That would be fake. Right, if you have a block connecting it all, that's fake. Or a block on top of the stack, then that's fake. For bookshelves, there's a bookshelf leaning up against the building, that's fake. There's a bookshelf, or 2 bookshelves on top of the stack, it's fake. You have a square of bookshelves like that, then that's fake. As for this TNT stack, well, I want you to realize it's pretty easy, right? It's a square of TNT with a TNT in front of it. If you have a TNT on the left side or a TNT on the right side of the square, then it's fake. Or again, 2 TNTs in a row makes the stack symmetrical, that's how you know it's fake. That's basically it for those block piles. But now we're going to go over the buildings. Right? I've already talked about this region. We're talking about, I believe, 3 more buildings now. For this building, right, this is what it looks like. As for the bookshelves, it's 3 and 2. So again, if you see a square bookshelf, it's fake. You see 3 bookshelves on top of each other, then that's fake. Nice stuff like that. Now over here, right, if you have 2 TNTs in a row, then it's fake. If you have 2 cakes, then it's fake. right, something like that. That would be pink. No flower pots in here at all. Sometimes you'll find flower pots on top of this wood thing, right? They can actually get all the way back here, stuff like that. So that's basically it for this house. Right, and so now we're going to go over to the house right next to it, which looks like this. Yeah, it looks like a pretty similar structure. Turns out you can literally go 4 blocks high for this bookshelf stack. You go all the way. You'd have to fall inside this cobweb, but it's possible to become a bookshelf 4 blocks high. So that is possible. So you might sometimes see that. As for the TNTs, again, 4 TNTs grouped together would mean there's a fake. So 4 TNTs, letter L, square TNT, that would be fake. Right, and that's basically it. Right, as for what we have right here, you should never see any flower pots inside this little area. Just a single cake and a single flower pot. That's basically it for this house. And again, you could also get on top of here like I just showed you. Right? On this particular case, I believe you have the ability to do this. So let me just verify. Right? You do have to make a sort of a hardcore jump. But I believe it is possible to get over there, so I don't think it's impossible. We have one more house to go over to finish the center of the map. Right, again, in this particular case, there aren't any cobwebs, but you can hide on top of these wood stuff. I like saying that, wood stuff. Right, now notice that we have this corner with a cauldron, but we don't have a cauldron at this corner. Sometimes you ought to find a cauldron at this corner, so you should be familiar with that. Right? Sometimes you'll find, cauldron at this corner. Actually, you'll never see that. Never mind, I'm lying to you. Alright. But also, you should see 2 flower pots here. That's basically it. So I believe we've covered all of the center of the map. Right? Basically, the center of the map consisted of all of the other houses, basically. So I'm probably going to title this center of the map building. So that's basically it for this video.